His name means little birds. However, anything he did was everything but little. We are talking about one of the greatest Roman emperors ever. Not the greatest in the greatest, purely straightforward meaning of the term, but in a completely different way. He was the greatest as the craziest, probably, or along those lines. His name means little birds, and specifically the term that we are talking about is Caligula. Caligula is this term that refers to little birds because the father, Germanicus, would bring him along, and his wife also, but specifically would bring Caligula along. And Caligula, of course, could not wear the proper footwear for Roman soldiers. His were modeled on the fact that he was still a child. His original name is Caius, but Caius didn't have like the greatest childhood because basically Germanicus was killed, probably poisoned, and Agrippina, his mother, made a public statement on one of the best and most outward sort of supporter for Germanicus to have been the killer. And that didn't set her in the same fashion on a right path, because she was killed alongside with one sister to Caius, who also was killed because the most exposed in name-calling people killers, right? The people that perhaps were, maybe were not actually behind this plot to kill the father or the husband, but anyway, they got killed. They got killed, and Caius was considered to be too fragile to be killed, right? And so he took up the term of Caligula, and he survived. The army, and specifically not the army as such, but the army that was the personal bodyguard that has so much power in this period, which is called the Praetorian Guard, which is called the Praetorian Guard. And the Praetorian Guard was the one responsible first to save the life of Caligula. So his life was spared, and at the age of 25, Caligula becomes emperor. Now, when he becomes emperor, he's somewhat liked. Why? Very simple. Every emperor that cuts taxes is very much liked. So, rule number one, to be loved, is to cut taxes. Rule number two, to be loved by the public audience, by the public opinion, by the public as in the poorish, sort of middle class and more poor people, all you really need to do is to give them either bread or games. And if you don't have bread, because to have bread is actually very expensive, give them games. In Latin, this is an expression that is panem et circensem, and I think they should have put or circenses in a way that, you know, like if you think about it, in every poorish country where there are big issues, there's always a sort of game that draws national attention that becomes so pivotal for the culture. And you start thinking, like, how is that possible, right? That these people, they struggle to live, they spend all their money by paying for football teams, for instance, right? That's a different story though. So, what Caligula gave to the public was spectacles, entertainments, chariot races, extravagant beast hunts, anything that is a sumptuous feast, because he could use the treasury and the surplus you know, contained in the treasury of Rome has his personal bank account, and therefore pay easily with that money all of these games. And that's exactly what it did. And so initially he is depicted as this good emperor who's coming from that type of family, military family, so somehow good reputation, right? And very, very quickly all of this changes because he becomes crazy. Even the most reliable sources, aka Suetonius, talk about a change in personality. We don't know exactly what that was. Somebody has hypothesized that this could be borderline disorder, bipolar disorder was the most credited one, hyperthyroidism, any other mental issue or physical issue that could be causing mental instability or mental issues. Anyway, his behavior started to become increasingly but steadily also erratic and insecure. He executed Macro, who was basically governing with him, forced journalists to commit suicide, terrorized and humiliated the Senate in many different ways. One legend is that Caligula named a horse as a senator. Other sources, however, report that he raped one eminent senator's wife. Other sources talk about incest with the three sisters alive. However, that's more sort of suspicious because there are other sources that report that the incest was actually committed by the sister of Caligula, but not with Caligula, with somebody else. So anyway, a whole thing, right, where it is very likely that Caligula did not commit all of this crimes or violations, let's put it this way, but certainly his behavior changed. And he changed dramatically. He became more bloody, more gory, more violent, right? There are sources that report that he would order to cut the hair of every male Roman who he saw had like thick hair because he was balding. And of course, alongside that sense of being a terror and being able to terrorize everyone and everything encountered, there's a sense of omnipotence that gets developed, right? So I would argue that this would be whatever, rule number 4, I think. Rule number 4 is when you get that power, try, because I assume it's not easy, try at the very least not to become a jerk. And how you do that? You simply avoid to make statues of yourself. And listen, if you do want to have statues of yourself, just put it in your own house, okay? Where like a limited number of people will see that. Yes, I know I'm depriving like the emperor of all his fun. At the same time, I'm preserving his life. So you pick and choose. Anyway, Caligula, what is it that he did? He, of course, created or gave the order to create statues of himself. Now this is nothing new, and there's a sense to it, there's a purpose, and the purpose is to be recognized as the emperor by the public. However, the Jews didn't really swallow when they found that in the temple of Jerusalem, a statue of Caligula was put in there. That's not the greatest attempt to be liked ever made. There's that, and then of course the other thing that you do in order to unify the audience, especially when you have issues, and most of all when those issues concern the bread, so like eating and really like issues that concern people and poor people struggling to meet ends meet, what you really need to do at that point, unify the public and make it coalesce around one center, meaning you as the emperor, is to declare war. Now Caligula was exceptionally good at this. Okay, it is reported that he declared war and wanted to invade Britain, to the point that the army goes to Britain. They are told, this is the legend, the sources that we have, but they are told to pick seashells and let's go back home. Why the seashells would be the memento of the war we won. Never happened. I mean, they never really invaded. There was no battle. I think this is one of the best wars ever. A war that is not fought. Anyway, and that is, you know, how you win. Unfortunately, it is also how you lose, since of course the only thing available was games and nothing else than games, and taxes had also to be raised specifically for the games. War was not fought. This emperor looked increasingly weaker and weaker, and that is how we get to the Praetorian Guard killing after 4 years of government Caligula. They do kill him by stopping him 30 times, and that's basically what happened. And then one of these Praetorian guards, meaning Claudius, he will take up the power, and that is simply how it was in those days. Now guys, first of all, I do hope you have enjoyed this video, and I do hope you have learned some rules from Caligula, but some rules on how to be a good tyrant or dictator. I think those are more suitable terms. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if so, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course comment below, let us know your thoughts, and we'll talk more next time in a new episode. Bye!